Hello and welcome. So we're going to start integrating MongoDB into our project, and we're going to make a server as well. But the first thing we're going to do is move all of this into a client folder. This will become the client side, the front end of our project. And we want to start working on the back end, which we'll leave here. So just make a folder, new folder, call it client. Take everything you have. If you don't have node modules, that's fine. We could still get into client and build those node modules. Move those all into there, and we see now our whole project is within client. And that's where we want it to be. That's perfect. Let's get started on our server. The first thing we'll do is get some dependencies. So yarn add, we want .env express body dash parser cores, that's cross-origin requests, and we should be set up with just that. So just add that to the file now, and you can see we now have a yarn lock and a node modules. That is what we want. Now on the outside here, we want a server.js, and here's where we will create our server. We're going to need a const called express, and it'll equal require express. Then we need a const body parser. It's another thing we just installed, and it will require body parser. And just one more, const cores. It will require cores. All right, so we're all set up to make our server. We want to make an app, so const app will equal express as a function. Now app.enable. The first thing I want to enable, and make sure it's enable and not enabled, app enable, the first thing I want to enable is trust proxy. Make that a string, is trust proxy, because we're going to proxy our request to this server. And we also want to make sure we recognize cross-origin requests. So just do app.use cores, and inside of cores, open yourself up an object, type in origin, and set that equal to a string that's a star. This means all. This always means all. So all origins it's going to accept from. The next thing we'll do is we want to parse the body of our incoming post request and stuff like that. So we'll get into that in a bit, but right now, just to set things up, app.use body parser .json, because we'll be using JSON in the body. Now, finally, we want to actually start up our server. So const port, this will be the port our server runs on. Right now, I'm just going to say port 5000. We're going to change this in a moment, but right now, port 5000. Now, app.listen, and then we tell it what to listen to. So port, so it knows to do port 5000. And then we throw a little function in here to console.log. And in here, just use the backticks. The backticks are the button next to the number 1 to the left. Backticks, we're going to say server is running on port. We use the $, open up an object, and write in port. And now we should have server is running on port 5000. So just save that, come down here, type in yarn start. Server is running on port 5000. So we did put a server together, and we did it quickly, and it is working. Now I want to change this a little bit. We downloaded one other package, and that package was called .env. So now we just want to type in require and then .env. Now right after that, .config. So we're going to configure this immediately. Now, all I'm going to store in here is this port number for right now, but our .env file won't be tracked anywhere, so we could keep anything that we don't want our user to see or anyone to see, whether it be passwords to payment processors or even JSON Web Token passwords, which we'll get into in a bit. We'll put that all in our .env file. So let's make a .env file right here. New file, .env. Now we can configure all of our .env things here. I'm just going to make one that's port, and it's going to equal 5,000. So our .env file holds one thing, and it says port equal to 5,000. Make sure you save that, come back into server, and this const port is no longer going to just equal 5,000. It's going to equal, we can move this 5,000 over because it's going to be the OR statement. If it can't find this, it could run on port 5,000, but I'd like it to do this instead, which is process.env. That's the env file that we just made, and then the name, port. There we are. So this should still run on port 5,000. And for now, I'm actually going to get rid of this just to make sure this is working. Let's save that and exit out of this by pressing Control and C. That gets you out of there. And then we just want to run it again with yarn start. Server is running on port 5,000, so our .env file is working. But just for redundancy, go ahead and type or 5,000 right into there. So great job, we got our server hooked up, no problem. We need to get our database hooked into this server. Now, hooking our database into this server isn't a lot of code, but we need to download a few things, so I want to get started on that right now. Go to mongodb.com and make yourself a login. Just go ahead and sign up. It is free to sign up, and what we're doing now will be free as well. I'm going to make a new project. So when you're in here, you want to make yourself a new project. Just go up here, go to New Project. Now our new project has to have a name. I'm going to call it Auth Mongo React and click Next. Now adding members is not necessary here, so I'm just going to create the project. And we have the option to build a cluster, which is exactly what we want to do. So we'll build a cluster and we'll get some options here. Get the free cluster, the shared cluster. That's all we need for this. Now, which region are we going to use? I'm going to use AWS, the region it's assigning to me. That's fine in Virginia. And I'm not going to change anything else here. So just create that cluster. Now, creating the cluster is pretty quick. It's 1 to 3 minutes, and while that's happening, we're going to download Compass. This will be linked under the video if you can't find it, but here is the address, mongodb.com/products/Compass. Now, Compass is going to help us really visualize the data on the back end, so I suggest you sign in, sign up, and download it. So I'm going to say try it now, just so I could walk you through this a little bit. And all you want to do is the MongoDB Compass, just download the stable version, download it, and it's just like any other program. Just install the DMG or the EXE, however you get it. Just follow the installation and it'll come up, and Compass will look like this. So if you have something that looks like this, you're in good shape. You don't need to have favorites. That's just for me right now. And you could pop this project into your favorites and you will have one in your favorites. But I need to get this here. You see that there's a SRV or standard connection string, and we're going to be able to get that from our cluster. All right, my cluster is created and I need to make my connection now. So go to connect. And you could see there's a bit to this. Add your current IP address, add a different IP address. I'll just add my current one for now. And I'm going to create a MongoDB user. And you could do whatever username and whatever password you want. I'm going to do demo user 1, and then we'll do a password. It could be whatever you want. I'm just going to write demo user 1. So now we'll need to connect. And I want to connect to MongoDB Compass, which is something we just downloaded. I do have MongoDB Compass, and copy this connection string. So here's the connection string. I'll copy that down. I'll close this. I'll go into Compass, And you can see paste your connection string SRV or standard right into here. I will paste that in, and I just need to type in my password, which I'm pretty sure I made demo user 1, and I should be able to connect to this cluster. Now, just at the end here, it says test. We can rename this to whatever the site's name is, but right now I'm just going to keep it as test. That's going to kind of be the name of the database that we're working in. It's going to be called test. So you'll have admin, local, config, and under that will be test when we start adding data. On the next video, we're going to connect to our app and start doing some actual authentication. This was a big step, and we're going to move this right into our app in the next one. So follow me along to that one, and I'll see you there.